Welcome back, you guys. Riding with Sager. I'm Jonathan Sager. If you haven't met me already, welcome to the channel. So I would have a better backdrop, or I wish, just like our name was, Riding with Sager, that we were out and you guys were riding with me. But thanks to one of my lovely dogs, my GoPro is currently out right now, and I'm trying to figure out if I have to get a new one or not. So, unfortunately, we get to cast this video in the setting of my dining room. But today's video, I came across another motovlogger's YouTube video in which he was talking about his buddies and other motovloggers growing up out of the Dyna bro stage. And it made me think of the topic of touring models versus Dynas and Softails. So shout out to FXDLSBrooklyn. Yes, I'm running off some notes to keep me on topic, and also I didn't want to mess up his name or nothing. So like I said, shout out to him, FXDLSBrooklyn. That's the only video I got to watching of his. There was a lot of other motovloggers on that video, which was really what caught my eye. Those kind of videos are always really cool to watch. Get multiple perspectives and multiple opinions. But anyway, so getting into it, touring versus Dynas and Softails. So I'm gonna run it kind of from start to finish, and being that my first Harley was a Softail. I started on a Softail Street Bob. It was a 2019 Street Bob, so with the Milwaukee 8, the 107, and I got it because that was my favorite Harley by far. I really wasn't into the baggers when I first got into the Harleys, and that was the bike I wanted. But then getting down to Southern Alabama, when I realized I was riding more and riding further, I found myself wanting to put bags and a Batwing fairing on it, and I was essentially going to be turning it into a Street Glide, which is what I ended up getting next. But I digress, and I'm getting away from the topic. Some of the whys and why nots for somebody to say, you know what, I want to look at a Dyna or a Softail, in my opinion, for starters, is the first and foremost that so many people throw out at Harleys is, oh, it's a big, heavy bike. True, they are heavy. They're cruisers. Cruisers and touring models. The Dynas and the Softails, if I remember correctly, none of them really weigh over 600-700 pounds. Now, and that 7 that's at the high end. Because I know for a fact that I want to say the Street Bob might be one of the lighter ones, actually. I believe so. Correct me if I'm wrong, but anyway. So a couple things that a lot of people really like about the Dynas and the Softails is how stripped down they are, and how customizable they are. Granted, yes, you can customize and turn any Harley into anything you want it to be, but with those Dynas and those Softails being so stripped back, it makes it that much easier. So that's definitely a reason for somebody to look into those. Because if you want something that you can turn into something completely else, prime example is I'm gonna kind of resort to some of the topic that came up on FXDLS's video, FXDLSBrooklyn, excuse me. He kind of mentioned a lot of the they were talking about the performance baggers, and I tell you what, a lot of Dynas and Softails, you see them throwing those, I don't know the name of them, but it resembles it's a fixed fairing that they throw on the front of them, but it's rounded off. Part of me wants to call it a modular fairing. I don't know why. I don't think that's what it's called, but they throw those on there and some bags and the 2-to-1 pipes, and it pulls off a performance bagger type look. So you can really turn those bikes into whatever you want them to be. And not to say that people can't go further and still be comfortable on those Dynas and Softails. People do that all the time. It's about how you ride and what you want to ride. So that goes on to how I said I was kind of turning it into a street glide. And that actually ended up being my second out of the three Harleys that I've had so far. My second bike was the bike that I started this channel on, which was my Street Glide Special. And so what put me there was the fact of how much more and how much further I was riding. And I'm not even gonna lie, I love having a stereo. Now, I know a lot of people will say, oh, all you need is the sound of the motor and the wind, blah, blah, blah. Personal preference. I love being that guy that, you know what, hey, here's my tunes, the rest of the world can hear them. No, I turn it down when I'm at a red light. Depending on the mood of the day, I don't want to be that guy all the time. Anyway, so that is essentially what got me on a bagger, is just how much further I found myself going. I've mentioned in at least one or two other videos that I've got posted. I put over 30,000 miles on that bike in less than 2 years. So to give you a little bit of a reference point of how much I was riding. And I still try to, but work kind of gets in the way a lot. So, some of the things for a bagger in sense, or a touring model, whatever you want to call it, is that going back, referring to that weight again. There's something to remain cognizant of is it's a larger bike, so it's going to be heavier. I want to say the lightest touring model, which is now the Heritage. I'm not sure if that's still in the 700-pound range or not, or if it got beefed up at all, or I haven't really looked into that bike too much. So if somebody else knows better or has some resources, throw them in the comments. But otherwise, good Lord. Sorry, I got my dogs playing in the background. Anyway, but like I was saying, you gotta be cognizant of those bikes' weight. So if say if you're a newer rider, not to say you can't ride them. I've seen a couple times, it's not very frequently, but I've seen a couple times where people will start on a touring bike. Granted, those are usually your 6 foot guys at 200 something pounds, but because that's a bike that's comfortable for them. But hey, I tell you what, if you can do it, if you're confident enough to, give it a shot. As long as you're keeping that rubber side down and shiny side up. No, and continuing on in the kind of the haves and have-nots, or the whys and why-nots of why to get a bagger or why not to, is like I was saying, I was looking at doing the fairing and the bags on that Softail Street Bob, and that is a pro to the touring bikes, the road glides and the street glides. Depending on what kind of fairing you want, whether you want that fixed bat wing, or excuse me, got that backwards. The fork mounted bat wing, or that fixed shark nose fairing on the road glide. Those fairings are awesome. They make for a outrageously comfortable ride. And then all the storage that comes on a bagger. Yes, you have your 2 saddlebags, but then say you get either a limited or go on to a aftermarket tour pack, because you've got that docking hardware on pretty much every touring model that I understand. So storage is definitely a huge plus to baggers and touring models. And then also another thing is, So this kind of goes as a little bit of a why not, is if you don't necessarily know what you want to do to a bike, it can kind of seem like it might turn into a bit more of a money pit than you would expect it to. Not to say that bikes aren't already, because I mean, when are we ever really done finding parts to throw onto them, right? Because I mean, I'll throw myself to the wolves for a sec. When I got my Street Glide, I was so excited to go to such a loaded bike, if you will, coming from that Street Bob, that I didn't really realize some of the things I was going to need to put on that Street Glide. Granted, yes, and some people might argue that that's part of the experience, that gives you things to look forward to and all that sort of stuff. But I guess it really depends on how you look at what you want out of a bike. So those are kind of a couple of things of why or why not you may or may not want to consider either going to or getting a bagger. Something I forgot, I'm going to backtrack a little bit, going back to the Dynas and the Softails. So I mentioned seeing a couple times that somebody had started on a touring model. Hey, and also if you're one of those people that every now and then you start on a touring model, let me know. Maybe there's more people out there that start on them that I'd imagine or think of. But Dynas and Softails are definitely closer to something you might consider starting on rather than a big old touring bike, because that weight can be a huge confidence buster. And when somebody is new to riding, that's exactly what you need to build. You need to build that confidence. You need to get on some of those roads without any traffic, and you focus and home in on those skills. But if you're doing it on a bike you can't necessarily handle, then you're not going to enjoy it, and you're not going to want to ride. So Softails and Dynas, definitely closer to something that somebody, say my stature, would necessarily want to start on, or maybe even learn on, if they were still learning. And I'll kind of try to wrap this on up with one of the last questions that FXDLSBrooklyn was asking a few of those people in his video. Go check that out, by the way. It was a good video. I thought it was pretty cool. Because it's true, like, I'd say I would have all three of the Harleys that I've ridden if I could afford them all. But unfortunately, for the time being, I can only afford the one. So that's why bikes had to go. Decisions had to be made. And that's ultimately what decides whether you're on either that Dyna or Softail or going to a bagger or touring. That's ultimately what does it. What do you want that bike for? Or what do you need that bike to do? But the last thing that I'll wrap up the conversation with is, would I get a Softail or maybe even a Dyna? I was looking at the Street Bobs when they were still Dynas, before I bought that Softail Street Bob. But I would definitely go back. I've actually got a bit of a bike goal. If you follow me on Instagram, that is also Riding with Sager, if you want to go follow me there. I've got a bit of a bike goal for myself that hopefully within the next 4 or 5-ish years, I'll be able to afford a second bike. And that is where I am definitely looking forward to the Street Bob S that just dropped for 2021 with the 114 in it. And I love that the graphics they put on the tanks. I love those paint colors, especially the Baja orange and the black fading into the orange. I think that the Street Bobs for 21 are pretty slick. But anyway, what do you guys think? Do you ride a Dyna? Do you ride a Softail? Do you ride a bagger? If you ride a bagger, what made you grow to one? If you ride a Dyna or a Softail, would you go to one? Would you not? Let me know. Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and shoot, keep the rubber side down, shiny side up, ride safe, and keep following me. Mash that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell, and I will see y'all next time on Riding with Sager.